It's weird what comes back to you sometimes. Like, I was standing in line earlier today, grabbing a coffee, and the guy in front of me kept dropping his change, just kept missing his pocket, and nobody said anything. Everyone just watched. I don't know why, but that moment kind of pulled me back to this other day, different place, same feeling in the air. I think it was a Tuesday, could have been a Thursday, doesn't really matter. Gray sky, that soft kind of cold that isn't freezing, but it gets into your bones anyway. I remember I had this old jacket on, the one with the torn lining in the pocket. I keep meaning to fix it, never do. I was walking toward my office building. Nothing fancy, glass doors, a little security desk by the entrance, the kind of place you walk into without thinking. I'd been there 100 times. More than that, it's just muscle memory, you know? But that morning felt off. Not in a big way, just small things. The doors felt heavier. Someone inside was laughing too loud. You ever notice how a laugh can feel wrong? Like it doesn't belong in the room? That kind of laugh. I stopped for a second before going in. Looked up at the building. Sun tried to break through the clouds but gave up halfway. I remember thinking I should probably shave, or at least brush my hair. It was doing its own thing. It usually does. Anyway, I pushed the door open, or tried to. It didn't move. Locked. That surprised me. I checked the sign. Office hours. Still open. So I knocked. Not loud. Just a couple taps. Like, hey, I'm here. The security guy looked up. Didn't smile. Didn't frown either. Just blank. Like he was deciding what I was to him. That's always an interesting moment. When someone's sorting you into a box in their head. He didn't come right away. Just stared for a second. Then went back to his phone. And I stood there. On the wrong side of the door. Feeling kind of stupid. Holding my coffee. Steam rising like it was trying to escape. That's when I knew this was going to be one of those days. I didn't know how weird it was about to get. So I waited. Not in a dramatic way. Just standing there. Watching people walk past on the sidewalk like everything was normal. A woman with a stroller. Guy talking too loud on his phone. Someone arguing with a parking meter. Life doing its thing. I knocked again. A little firmer this time. Still polite. Not trying to make a scene. The security guy finally looked up. Really looked at me now. Took his time. Stood up slow, like he had nowhere else to be. He cracked the door open. Not all the way, just enough to stick his head out. Yeah, he said. I told him I was heading in. Kept it simple. Didn't explain anything. Didn't feel like I had to. He looked me up and down. Real obvious. Shoes, jacket, hair. That scam people do when they're trying to decide if you belong somewhere. Who you here to see? He asked. I paused. Not because I didn't know the answer, more because it felt strange to say it out loud. Like saying it would change the whole energy. So I just said, I work here. He didn't laugh. But his eyes did. Just a little. He shook his head. Everyone says that, he said. I didn't push, didn't pull out a badge or anything, didn't say my name. I don't like leading with names. Feels weird. So I just stood there, told him it was fine. I could wait. He closed the door. Right in front of me. Not hard. Not rude. Just decided. Final. So there I was. On the wrong side again. I could hear stuff inside. Phones ringing. Someone coughing. A printer doing that angry grinding sound. Normal office noise. And I'm outside like a kid who forgot his lunch. After a minute, a woman came up behind me. Sharp suit. Heels clicking. She looked annoyed already. Like the world had personally offended her. She tapped on the glass. The guy opened up for her right away. Big smile. Morning, he said. She walked in. Didn't even look at me. Door closed again. I laughed a little. Not because it was funny. Just reflex. You ever laugh when things get awkward? Like your body doesn't know what else to do? I knocked again. The guy sighed, came back. Look, man, he said, this isn't a shelter. You can't just hang around here. That word, shelter, he didn't mean anything by it. At least, I don't think he did. But it landed heavy, like he'd already decided who I was, what box I fit in. I wanted to correct him. I really did. But part of me was curious. How long would this go? How far would it go? So I just said, okay, and stepped back. That's when I heard someone inside say my name. At first, I thought I imagined it. You know how your brain does that sometimes, fills in sounds, makes patterns out of noise. But then I heard it again, clear this time. Keanu? It came from somewhere inside. Not loud, just surprised. Like someone tripped over a memory. The security guy froze. His hand was still on the door handle. He looked back over his shoulder, confused. A guy I recognized stepped into view, mid-40s maybe. Always wore these crisp shirts that looked like they came straight off a hanger. He stopped when he saw me. His face changed in real time, eyes wide, jaw kind of dropped. Oh man, hey, he said, what are you doing out here? I shrugged, trying to get to work. There was this pause, thick. You could almost hear it. He turned slowly toward the security guy. Didn't raise his voice, didn't have to. He works here, he said carefully. He owns the place. The word hung there. Owns. The security guy's face drained. You could see the gears turning, replaying the last 5 minutes in his head. The door, the shelter comment, the looks. Oh, I didn't, he stammered. He swung the door open all the way, suddenly too open, like he was trying to make up for it in inches. Sir, I'm so sorry, he said. I didn't recognize you. I stepped inside. The air felt warmer. Same building, different world. Funny how a door does that. It's okay, I said. And I meant it, mostly. The guy in the crisp shirt started apologizing too, saying things like, this is unacceptable, and we'll talk about this, and this is not how we do things here. I could feel the attention now. Heads popping up from desks, people whispering, phones lowering. The vibe flipped, just like that, from invisible to very visible. And that part always gets me. 5 minutes ago, I was nobody. Now suddenly, everyone knew my name. The security guy kept talking, explaining himself, how he's just doing his job, how people try to sneak in all the time, how he didn't mean anything by it. I nodded, let him talk. But inside, something felt off. Not angry, just sad. 'Cause nothing about me changed. Same jacket, same hair, same coffee cooling in my hand. Only thing that changed was what they thought I was. The guy in the shirt asked if I wanted to go upstairs. Executive floor, big windows, conference room, all that. I said, sure. We walked together. Elevator ride was quiet. You could cut the tension with a key card. Security guy didn't come. Probably grateful. When the doors closed, the guy finally exhaled. Man, he said, that should never have happened. I looked at the floor numbers going up. Yeah, I said, but it did. And I was already thinking about what I was going to say when we got there. The conference room was too bright. Sun coming in hard through those tall windows. Long table. Chairs lined up like they were waiting for something important to happen. Which, I guess, they were. A couple people were already there. Suits. Laptops open. Coffee cups with lids they never use. They all stood up when I walked in. Too fast. Like someone hit a button. Morning, one of them said. A little too cheerful. I nodded. Sat down. Put my coffee on the table. It made this soft plastic sound when it touched the surface. Way louder than it should have been. The guy in the crisp shirt closed the door behind us. He stayed standing. So, he said, clearing his throat. There was an incident downstairs. I looked around. Nobody met my eyes. Everyone's suddenly interested in their notebooks. I was locked out, I said. Kept it simple. For a while. One woman spoke up. That's not acceptable. We'll handle it. I shook my head. It's not about handling him. That made a few people look up. It's about what you've built here, I said. What you allow, what feels normal. Silence. Not awkward, heavy. They started explaining. Policies, procedures, safety, liability. All those words people use when they're scared. I listened. Let him finish. Then I told him what he said. About the shelter, the way he looked at me, the way the door closed, like I didn't matter. No one interrupted. I didn't say who I was, I admitted. That part's on me, but it shouldn't matter. I could see it clicking for some of them. Others were just panicking, thinking about headlines, consequences. That moment, I said, that's your culture, not what's on the website, not what's in the handbook. That moment. Another pause. I leaned back, took a breath, didn't rush it. I can't have a place where people get sorted like that, where someone decides your value in 5 seconds. One guy started to speak. I raised my hand gently. I know you didn't do it, I said, but you're responsible for it. That's when I told them, not yelling, not angry, just done. I'm letting you all go. You could hear the building outside, sirens somewhere, a car horn, life going on like nothing happened. One woman's eyes filled up. Another guy stared at the table. Someone whispered, "Is this real?" I nodded. It is. No speeches, no drama, just that. And weirdly, I didn't feel powerful. I felt tired. I walked out a little while later. Same doors, same sidewalk, different feeling. The security guy was still there, sitting, staring at his hands. He looked up when he saw me, didn't know what to say. I didn't either, at first. So I just nodded. Small. Not forgiveness, not punishment, just acknowledgement. He nodded back. That was it. I kept walking. It stayed with me, though. Not the firing part. That was necessary. Hard, but necessary. What stuck was how easy it was. How fast someone made a decision about me without knowing a thing. And how fast that decision flipped the second they did. That part messes with you. Because it makes you wonder how many times you've done it too. Looked at someone, thought you had them figured out, moved on. I'm not proud of it, but I know I have. We all do. It's human. But it doesn't mean it's right. I think about all the people who don't get the door opened. Ever. Who don't get a second look. Who just stand outside their whole lives and nobody ever comes down to say their name. That's heavy. So I try now. Try to slow down. Notice people. Say hi. Hold doors. Little stuff. Doesn't fix the world. But it changes a moment. And moments add up. That day could have gone 100 ways. Anger. Yelling. Public mess. But it didn't need to be that. I don't carry it like a victory. More like a reminder. Everyone's got a story you don't see. Everyone's fighting something you'll never know about. And the way you treat someone when you think they don't matter, that's who you really are. Not when it's easy. When it's not. Anyway, yeah. That was one of those days.